Good morning and welcome to the Daily Ramble here on Claret and Booze. My name's Gary and Happy New Year to you all. It's my first ramble of the year. We've got a few things on the agenda. First of all, I went to the Brighton game last night, so we're going to quickly talk about that. Not much to talk about, to be honest. And then we'll talk about the latest transfer news. And there's a few bits and pieces that are quite interesting. One that's really quite annoying. And so we'll touch on that. Before we go there, please give the show a watch, and if you enjoy what you see, please hit like, hit subscribe to our YouTube channel, Claret and Booze, and hit the bell notification icon so that you're informed of future shows. So firstly, on to Brighton last night. It was a very straight, it was a game of two halves, I suppose you could say, because in the first half, we played a high line all the way through, without creating very much, it has to be said. But having said that, Brighton didn't create very much either. I mean, they had the better of the chances. I think they had a couple in the first half. Areola was in one of those moods where he wasn't going to be beaten, and it just seemed that no matter what Brighton did, they couldn't get past him. He made a really cracking save in the first half when he followed up and got his body in the way to an initial save. We looked, we played on the front foot. We tried to push forward, but without Paqueta in the side, giving that bit of creativity in the middle, we struggle. We're a different team altogether. I'd say Paqueta's more important than Kudus in terms of the playmaking ability, right? Kudus and Bowen, both fantastic finishers, and I must admit, going into the game, I was a bit worried. I was a bit worried that Soufal would get exposed down the right-hand side. That's why I assumed Johnson was put in. Maybe he was resting him, I don't know. And then he put Fornals on the right-hand side because he's the better defender. And as we know, Kudus is a fabulous defender, isn't he? So I think that closed off, really, that avenue of pleasure. Didn't close it off very much, to be honest. They did get past us a few times. But I was quite pleased to see us play. We didn't get caught out very much. It seemed to really impact Brighton, actually, playing a high line against them, getting in their faces. And that's why I couldn't really understand the tactical shift in the second half. It was very, very odd. We continued the second half playing in the same way. Weren't really... I mean, again, they had one or two half chances, but I think it was the 73rd minute when Mabama was brought on and he was pushed up front alone and said, go play the Antonio role while the rest of us camp out on the edge of the box. So the poor kid was just running around chasing shadows for the rest of the game. It was a bit of a waste, to be honest. There was no need to do it. But it just invited Brighton on, and Brighton were toying with us in the end. They were flicking at it. They were playing like Olé football, flicking it around the corner, a few back heels and stuff like that. And they had, I don't think I'm exaggerating, probably 5 gilt-edged chances, real gilt-edged chances. And a couple of those, I think all of them went straight down the throat of Areola. We were very, very lucky. I mean, either side of Areola, and we lose that game. But nonetheless, I think looking at the starting lineup, being without Paqueta, being without Kudus, hopefully Paqueta comes back for the next game against Sheffield United. Hoping Antonio will be back by that point as well. No, he's no Kudus, but he's better than it's better than what we had out on display there last night, which was Benny the Circle, as I'm going to call him, because he likes to go round in circles. Might have been my imagination, but I think he went round in one particular circle. He went round twice over on the left-hand side in the first half before running the ball out of play. He seems to have completely lost his confidence to run at players now. I don't know whether that's because he's lost a bit of his pace. I saw a video recently of him when he played for Brentford, and he looked rapid. And he's not rapid anymore. So whether he's just lost confidence of actually going past players now because he's lost a bit of pace, I suspect that's what it is. Either way, he's not doing very well for us. But he was the most attacking of the two. If you look at him and Fornals did not much, to be honest. Danny Ings warmed up, I think, 5 times throughout the game last night. That was his net contribution. He'd done some jumping across the line a few times. He did that 4 or 5 times, actually. He was probably knackered, probably felt like he played a game because he'd warmed up so much. I reckon he warmed up about 15 minutes, right? The last 20 minutes of that game was horrendous. It really was horrendous. And we were pretty lucky to get away with it. But I'll take the point. But 55 shots conceded in 2 games. Yes, I know they weren't all on target, but bloody hell, last night There was a few there that should have ended up in goals. I think with the Arsenal game, we kind of say that yeah, they had a lot of shots, but you'd say we weren't lucky. We were dogged. Last night, Brighton cut us open quite a few times, and it was just a case of planting a header one side of the keeper or the other, or putting a shot in the right place, and it would have been good night Vienna, because there's no way we were coming back from that, right? We had nothing to offer going forward. You know, I think our front three of Kudus, Bowen and Paqueta is borderline world class at times. When you take one of those away, two of those away, you're shafted. You're shafted. So anyway, look, it was a quiet atmosphere over there last night as well. There was literally no atmosphere. At points, you heard people talking in the crowd in the other stand. You know, they must have been talking pretty loud, but it was grim. It was grim. Anyway, enough of that. We got a point, which I think, on reflection, on balance, is a good result. I wish that was one of the games I'd given a miss to, though, you know, because it's one of these things. Whenever we start playing some decent football and getting some decent results, I sort of look forward to going to games, and then we play like that. But what more did I expect? Probably not very much. On to the transfer news, and one of our aforementioned front three, Jared Bowen, is being talked about a lot by Liverpool. I mean, firstly, Klopp, old Kloppy with the big gnashes. He said recently that outside of his own players, he's his favourite player in the Premier League. Now that is open, out in the open, plain, cold, tapping up. But it's Jurgen Klopp, who's a saint, as we know, never really gets into trouble for anything he says or does. So he's allowed to openly tap up a West Ham player because they're Liverpool and we're West Ham, right? That's the rules. Jamie Carragher has now joined in as well and said Liverpool are considering Jared Bowen. As if they just snap their fingers and Jared Bowen comes running to them if they want him. Well, that ain't the way it works, Jamie. You're going to have to get your big wallet out for this one. First of all, he wouldn't join you anyway. At the moment, we're not letting him go. But secondly, if there was a deal to be done there, we'd be talking a lot of money. And I think Liverpool, in their current situation of FFP, adherence and everything else, I think they'd struggle to come up with the money for him. And we don't want to sell anyway. I mean, why would we? Why would we sell Jared Bowen, who's just signed a 7-year contract? So, yeah, go for yourself, Jamie Carragher, and stop commenting on our players. So I wonder who else. I wonder who's going to be next. Because you remember with the Declan Rice thing where all of the ex-Arsenal players started talking about Declan Rice. And it was as if they already knew he was coming to Arsenal. Well, I hope that ain't the story with Liverpool. But, to hear that Jamie Carragher start going on about it, fucking annoying more than anything. Now, we're being linked to Ian Matson, who's a 21-year-old left-back, stroke left wing-back from Chelsea, who's done well for Burnley this season. 31 million. I mean, firstly, 31 million. Secondly, left-back, left wing-back. So we'd spend 31 million on a position we don't need to fill. Yeah, all right, mate. So I suspect there's no legs with that one, unless it's some kind of different sort of deal, and he don't mind playing understudy to our existing left back, who's been magnificent this year, Emerson, one of our best players. There's a lot of other news out there in transfer land. Danny Ings, the worst ever gift anyone's ever given. Present from David Sullivan to David Moyes. He's been a disaster, let's be honest. He cost us 15 million. Now, that's not small money, is it? 15 million's a decent chunk of change. And he just doesn't suit the way we play at all. Complete waste of time. We know that Kerr's on his way, with an initial loan with a buy clause, a mandatory buy clause after a certain number of appearances. What's the betting that Monaco stop one short of the number of appearances? We shall see. I wouldn't trust them as far as I would throw them. Cornet, rumours of him going to Burnley or Everton. I think either of those are very likely. We paid 17 million for him, and he's played 1 minute of first-team football this year in the Premier League. He's not going to get used. Might as well sell him. Moyes is not going to use him. I don't know what's happened there. I don't know whether they've fallen out or whatever. They must have. But anyway, 17 million, I think you can turn that into 10 million. to sell him, to move him on. He's still a reasonable age. I think we'll get probably 10 million for Ings if we're lucky. He hasn't failed anywhere but us. He hasn't turned into a bad striker overnight. He just needs to go to a team that can use that type of striker, maybe in a front two. Southampton in the Championship, I think, would be perfect for him. Give them that little incentive they need to finish off the way they've started. They've started spectacularly this year. Helped out by Flynn Downs, of course. Nayef Aguerd, very strong rumour that he'll be sold to one of the big four rich clubs in Saudi. Surely we're going to get our money back, 30 million, maybe even more on him, because again, he doesn't really suit our style of play. He's a good player. He's a proven player, and he's probably going to have a good AFCON with Morocco as well. He's more suited to play in a high line, and that is really what we don't play very often, even though we're playing it more of late, to my delight. I think when we play in the traditional, had we played him against Arsenal, for instance, I don't think that would have ended well, right? And it's just you could call it a personal thing if you want. I just think he always looks nervous especially when it's him and Mavropanos together. That's why it's so important to get the experienced head of Ogbonna into the team that night. Either him or Zuma had to come in and play well and lead. I thought Aguerd was going to be a leader. He's not a leader, not at all. He does like to blame others when he screws up, but other than that, he's not really a leader. So I reckon probably I don't know whether we're going to shift Benrahma, to be honest, this transfer window, unless we first of all manage to secure another person who can play on the left, because he does seem to be the default offering beyond Paqueta, who's not a left winger, to play on the left. But it would be good if we get rid of Cornet, and we do move Benrahma on. It would be good to bring in another left winger, one that's that Moyes wants, perhaps, and one that's got a bit of pace and a bit of trickery, a bit of creativity about him. It would be great to have someone like that. We also need a striker, and we're being linked again with Dominic Solanke from Bournemouth. The price tag is probably 30 to 35 million in the real world. Now, we know Bournemouth were looking for 50. Bournemouth ain't getting 50, are they? Let's be honest. So when you look at the players we're going to move out of, Cornet, maybe 10 million. Kehrer, eventually maybe 10 million. Ings, 5 to 10 million, maybe 7, 8 million, something like that. Aguerd, say 30 million. So there's between 50 and 60 million quid to come in from those sales. Solanke's 30 to 35 million. You've got to be looking at another centre-half. I don't like the idea of Eric Dyer, but then again, I think if that is a Moyes signing, then that's the kind of player that he's good at buying, right? Like Dawson, like Zuma. He's good at buying centre-halves. And, the only one I would question is Aguerd. But he does tend to go for the bread and butter, big giants who can defend properly, especially in his system. And I don't know whether Dyer would be one of those. I mean, he's always struck me as a little bit flaky. But who knows? Who knows? Could be another Dawson, I suppose. There'll never be another Dawson. Am I kidding? So and also, so we would need a centre half anyway. We'd need a centre half. We need a striker. We need a left winger. I think they're the three positions we need to fill. I'd also like to see us bring in a right back, right wing back, someone with some pace to match up against Emerson. So they're the four positions I'd like to see us fill. Fofana from Monaco, I know Nick mentioned this last night, the guy that we mentioned, he had his deal extended by a year. So he's going to have a year of his deal left come the end of the season. Youssef Fofana, great player, very aggressive central midfielder, can do everything in terms of being a CDM as well as being attacking midfielder. Now he scores goals as well. I don't know if we've got a place in the team for him unless Moyes is going to be dropping Thomas Souček. And Thomas Souček, his new deal was only announced yesterday. So I can't see Fofana coming in. I can't see us making a move for him. I think we definitely need, though, if we're going to, for instance, move Fornals out, if he's going to move out, and, he got a little run out last night, maybe last night was the shop window, who knows? Because Ben Johnson got a run out as well, right? Maybe if we're going to move Fornals out, we do need somebody as an understudy, somebody who can come in and play the Paqueta role. Now, you could kill two birds with many stones here. So Paqueta's being played on the left side. I don't see Souček being dropped anytime soon. So if you're bringing a left-sided player, perhaps it's somebody who can play left side like Paqueta, can also play in the middle like Paqueta, and is a flair, a creative player. Now, there ain't many top draw players like that around, especially who are prepared to play understudy. But there are bound to be some that old Tim Stighton can go and pick up. But yeah, this is gonna warm up. It's going to be, I think, quite an exciting transfer window. It's good that it started really quickly with the news on Kehrer. So clearly, Tim has been working on that deal for quite a while. Hopefully, he's been working on some other deals as well. And we're not sitting here in the last week of January wondering what's going to happen and if anything's going to happen, because that would be old world. Either way, let's make sure that that the players that come in are players that can be used and want to be used by Moyes. Alternatively, they're players that will fit in a future system. If they're youngsters, that's fine. By the way, one more thing. I was really pleased to see some youngsters on the bench last night, Mabama aside. I know that they didn't get any game time, but it's good to see them occupying the places on the bench rather than the likes of Kehrer, right? There have been so many games where we've looked at the bench and realised that he's got a load of players he just ain't going to use. Kehrer, Cornet, Ings, right? So why not? Why not have three of your best kids start to get some game time, start to get some minutes? And that's what I hope. He had one eye on the Bristol City game on Sunday. I'm hoping that he put those kids on the bench to get them used to that sort of first team environment with one eye to playing them on Sunday. It would be good. It would be good to see them not en masse like Allardyce did that time against Forest, because Bristol City are no mugs. They're an 11th place championship side, right? So we can't take the piss. We've really got to take them seriously. And I don't see why we couldn't play two or three of the youngsters in that game. After that game, we've got a couple of weeks, I believe, until the Sheffield United game. Or is it 2 weeks from? I don't know. I'm going to have to check my diary. But either way, it's going to be a busy January with all the transfer news and transfer activity. Well, hopefully there'll be lots of transfer activity anyway. I think a lot depends on, can we bring some money in to start with? Because we've already been advised there's no money to spend, which I struggle to believe. Or will we end the month just thinking, oh, this is the same routine we went through with Sam Allardyce back in the day. Moyes' last season, so just going to run down the clock. Whatever happens, I hope that isn't the situation. Why would you just stick when you're sitting in a decent place in the league? Still got the FA Cup to go, and we're in the last 16 in Europe. I think we need a few reinforcements. We've seen what happens when a couple of our players are missing, right? For instance, Alvarez, whenever he's gone missing, we've got beaten. Paqueta, whenever he's out the side, we've either got beaten or looked a bit rubbish, right? We definitely need to have more strength in depth beyond the first 11 or 13 players. And players that Moyes wants to use, right? Players that can be in the inner circle. Hopefully a bit of an extended, bigger inner circle. In the meantime, that's it. I'm done. Hope you enjoyed that ramble. If you did, please hit like. Subscribe to our channel, Claret and Booze, and hit the bell notification icon to be reminded of future shows. I'm sure we'll be doing these shows, because it's transfer window time, be doing them more regularly throughout January, especially when we get some new interesting nuggets. As soon as we get it, we'll share it with you. All right, until next time, see you soon. Come on, you wines.